In the early 60s, a mugger in Los Angeles was targeting elderly women. The police set a trap. Officers dressed up as grandmothers and patrolled the streets. The plan worked. The criminal was quickly caught. Loggers and a giant fallen tree in California, 1892. Early stage of a beauty contest evaluating contestants' figures, USA, late 1940s. Joseph Stalin smiles after signing the Non-Aggression Pact between Germany and the Soviet Union, 1939. Alternative method of restraining patients in early 20th century psychiatry. Chief U.S. hunting inspector with a confiscated 10.9-inch, 250-pound shotgun used for duck hunting, 1920. One shot with this would cover an entire flock. Such weapons were banned in the early 20th century. Sophia Loren disapprovingly looks at Jane Mansfield's exposed chest, 1960s. 8 soldiers of different nationalities in German captivity, left to right. Vietnamese, Tunisian, Senegalese, Sudanese, Russian, American, Portuguese, and British, 1917. Tooth extraction pliers, 1860s. A screw was inserted into the painful tooth to make it easier to grab and extract along with the root. This was done without anesthesia. Soviet Air Force bombing of Helsinki, Finland, 1939, Winter War. Lab technician in a plastic suit selecting a rat for experiments in an Indiana lab, USA, 1949. Native Americans tear down the statue of Christopher Columbus, Mexico, 1994. 1971, John Kerry protests against the war. 2013, John Kerry, U.S. Secretary of State, asks for support to strike Syria. They each drank only one glass of beer. Belgium, 1971. In New Jersey, male toplessness was banned until 1937, on the grounds that locals didn't want to see gorillas on the beaches. The last puff of a young man about to be buried alive by Japanese soldiers in Nanjing, China, 1938. The last known living Barbary lion, shot in the Moroccan Atlas Mountains in 1922, now extinct in the wild. Hannah Stilley, born in 1746, is considered the earliest born person ever photographed. The last day of gold distribution by the government, China, 1949. A man runs with a cart full of diapers during the Los Angeles riots, 1992. Iron lungs in polio hospital wards, 1950s. This old photograph, probably taken at the end of the 19th century, looks like it was created to scare future viewers. 2 women in long light dresses stand on the porch of a wooden house, their faces stiff and serious, and their thick hair, like dark veils, hides their hands and most of their bodies. Lavender Panthers, a radical militarized gay group that existed in San Francisco in 1973. The group aimed to defend LGBT rights with arms, as the police were inactive, and attacks on gays and transvestites were rarely investigated. Passengers of the New York subway sitting without newspapers during the citywide newspaper strike, 1953. Eunuch from the Imperial Court, Beijing, 1949. A bronze statue of Hachiko at the spot where he waited for his master every day on the day of his death, 1935. Even if you're Winston Churchill, you can't just walk past a kitten. London, 1952. Punishment of a soldier of the Russian Imperial Army with rods in a rear unit for disobeying an officer's order, 1916. The 39th U.S. President, Jimmy Carter, once sent his jacket to the dry cleaners, forgetting a cheat sheet with the nuclear launch codes in the pocket. Wedding motorcade, Chelyabinsk region, Russia, 1990s. French police show the way to entering the German Wehrmacht in Paris. In 1945, France would become one of the victorious countries. Henry Freeman in Whitby was the sole survivor of a storm, thanks to a cork life jacket that other crew members refused to wear. After this, life jackets became mandatory, 1890. The first attempt by the first woman to officially participate in the Boston Marathon, 1967. Alcohol stash during U.S. Prohibition, 1926. There were also brothels in concentration camps, and very often the girls were abused by other women, such as the commandant's wives, simply for pleasure. Dachau concentration camp survivors use a shovel to exact revenge on a guard named Weiss. This photo captures his final seconds of life, April 29th, 1945. The Arkadiko Bridge in Greece, built during the Mycenaean civilization from the 16th to the 11th centuries BCE, is one of the oldest arch bridges in the world and the oldest bridge in Europe. Previously, anyone could relieve themselves right on the city streets. A public urinal in Paris, 1875. Ainu girls started lip tattoos around age 7, enduring years of cut-and-soot ink with no anesthesia. It was painful, repetitive, expected before marriage. Japan banned it by 1871, nearly erasing the right. Testifying against the mob in open court, a high-stakes moment in the USA, 1933. In 1945, the USS Indianapolis was carrying an atomic bomb to Japan, but was torpedoed and sank. The sailors who ended up in the water were attacked by sharks. About 150 people died from their teeth. Suffragette force-fed during hunger strike, Holloway Prison, UK, 1911. A shocking photo from the women's voting rights movement. In 1942, educator Janusz Korczak had a chance to escape, but chose to accompany 200 orphans to the Treblinka gas chamber instead. His reasoning was heartbreakingly simple. You don't leave a sick child alone, and here there are 200. An old Halloween costume. How Alaska's Muir Glacier changed from 1882 to 2015. The VW Sirocco rally crew is photographed after a successful race, Germany, 1977. French women who had connections with Germans were publicly humiliated as traitors. The irony is that France itself capitulated in 43 days, but it was the women who were portrayed as traitors. British and Italian forces clashed in Egypt during World War II, 1940. The Italians won this battle, stabilizing the front for 3 months. In 1918, Frances Griffiths and her cousin photographed what they claimed were real fairies and became famous overnight. It wasn't until 1983 that it was revealed this was the world's very first major hoax. The shortest war in history, the Anglo-Zanzibar War, took place on August 27, 1896, between Great Britain and Zanzibar. It lasted only 38 minutes. Pictured, the Sultan's palace after the shelling. A man stole a military tank from the U.S. Army and drove it on the highway in San Diego, USA, 1995. The Iranian Revolution, a crowd chasing and beating a supporter of the Shah. Tehran, 1979. An Egyptian column destroyed by Israeli aviation during the Six-Day War. At the end of the war, Israel gained control of territory 3.5 times larger than its pre-war area, 1967. Madrid, Spain, 1960s. The message that killer William George Herons wrote in lipstick on the wall of one of his victims' apartments. "For heaven's sake, catch me before I kill more. I cannot control myself." 1945. Famous Wild West brothel of Jenny Bauters, Arizona, USA, 1896. U.S. National Guardsmen with a convoy of trucks carrying captured Iraqis. Kuwait, 1991. 11-year-old Grace Bedell from Westfield, New York, wrote to Lincoln advising him to grow a beard to look more appealing and win a bet, which her brothers promised to vote for him if he did. Schoolgirls solemnly bid farewell to a kamikaze pilot, Chiron, 1945. At that time in Japan, many aspired to become kamikaze pilots, but only the chosen ones were selected. Guillaume Duchenne stimulates muscle contractions with electrical probes to artificially induce facial expressions, circa 1862. A lonely driver escapes during the collapse of the Tacoma Bridge, Tacoma, USA, 1940. Plymouth, Massachusetts police officers salute their service dog, Kaiser, as he is led to the vet clinic for euthanasia. The Iron Maiden, a terrifying torture device for heretics. It was a sarcophagus with 20-centimeter spikes. When closed, they pierced the body, intentionally missing vital organs. Doctors perform artificial respiration on a drowning victim while a woman in a swimsuit poses. New York, 1940. The photo shows electricians Randall Champion and J.D. Thompson. They were conducting repair work when Randall was struck by an electric shock. More than 4,000 volts passed through his body, instantly stopping his heart. Thompson rushed to help and performed CPR. Randall's life was saved. The crew of the Pueblo returns to the U.S. after 11 months of captivity in North Korea, 1968. In public libraries of medieval Europe, books were chained to the shelves due to the high value of each copy. Boy Scouts collect money for the survivors of the Titanic, England, 1912. The pear of anguish was invented in the 16th century and used to punish women for adultery and abortions. It was inserted into the intimate area and the screw was turned, causing infernal torment. Let's make friends. A speech by Adolf Hitler to the world community, February 29, 1936. Monk Capistran Ferrito plays baseball with Harlem Boys, USA, 1965. Adolf Eichmann's smile as his sentence for crimes against humanity is read, 1961. Animal rights defenders carry an alpine ibex, which will be released into the wild, Switzerland, 1954. Black humor from Austro-Hungarian pilots. French civilians upon the entrance of the Nazis into Paris during World War II. Throughout the USS Triton's secret mission to circumnavigate the world submerged, the only unauthorized individual to spot the submarine during those 60 days was a Filipino man on his canoe who noticed its periscope. April 1960. In a city in Georgia, USA, workers conducting repairs in a building discovered about 1,000 human teeth inside the wall. Studies showed the building was built in 1900, and the first tenant of the space was dentist Clarence Whittington. In 1940, 10 teenagers aged 14 to 17 were arrested for writing to Stalin, condemning the unacceptability of sending grain to Germany while Soviet people are starving. They were sentenced to 10 years in prison. A Dallas police officer holds the rifle that, according to the investigation, was used to kill John Kennedy, 1963. Glimpse into Afghanistan's infrastructure and culture, mid-20th century. Mass burning of the Parangi, Vale, Andijan, Uzbekistan, 1927. A woman on the right is presenting a plastic protective bra for women working in munitions factories, USA, 1943. It was believed that it protected against radiation and other harmful substances. The execution of a thief in Persia, early 20th century. This is not a statue, but a person undergoing an elaborate execution. He was tied up. A wall was built around him from raw bricks, and the form was then filled with lime. 6 hours later, the unfortunate was still alive, and a shooting followed. According to the caption, the crime was the theft of 2 cucumbers. Drying polar bear skins, Northern Earth, 1930. The most obscene swimsuits of the 19th century. Russian soldiers without insignia with machine guns near the building of the Supreme Council of the Autonomous Republic of Crimea, March 1st, 2014. Luftwaffe pilots at the ritual of welcoming new pilots into their ranks, 1942. The meaning of the ritual was to burn away their fear. In the second photo, they are not pedestrians, but daring owners of bicycles and mopeds. Louise Bundy, mother of serial killer Ted Bundy, talks to him on the phone minutes before his execution. "You will always be my precious son. A mother is always a mother." A vampire hunting kit, 19th century. In 1979, Brazil's military president João Figueiredo reached out to a 5-year-old girl for a propaganda photo op, but she refused. The shot became an iconic symbol of resistance against the dictatorship. Fingerprints became a method of identification after 2 people named Will West were convicted of the same crime in Kansas. They looked exactly the same, but only fingerprints helped determine who was guilty. Vesna Vulovic, a Serbian flight attendant who survived the highest freefall without a parachute from 33,000 feet in 1972. Allied soldier inside a lookout tree, 1918. Initially, trees near the trench line were selected for this purpose. Then, photographs of these trees were taken from different angles, and high-quality models were made, which were later installed at night in place of the cut-down trees. Millions of bison skulls nearly extinct due to uncontrolled hunting, 1870s. East German border guards observed the dispersal of protesters using tear gas on the other side of the Berlin Wall, 1988. The first remote-controlled quadcopter, 1941. 1883, British India. Bearer of civilization displays hunting trophies. Photos like this explain why Indians still resent British colonists. East German soldier helps a little boy sneak across the Berlin Wall, 1961. A Japanese brothel, 1890. When the pious Portuguese Christians discovered Japan in the 16th century, they lost their minds over the caresses of the geishas, and in exchange, gifted them syphilis. Thank you for watching this video until the end. I hope these photos impressed you. Some may have made you angry, brought a smile, made you happy, or perhaps even caused some negativity. Feel free to leave your comments and stay tuned for the next part. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Bye.